In today's video, we're counting down 6 of the most disturbing animal attacks in Romanian history, from a rabid bear that tore through 12 people in a single morning to a pack of feral dogs that killed a 4-year-old boy in a public park in the capital city. But first, we begin in the Carpathian Mountains, where a 19-year-old hiker was dragged off a cliff by a predator that had lost all fear of humans. Maria Diana, Jepi Mici Trail. It was July 9, 2024, in the Bucegi Mountains, where the Jepi Mici Trail climbed steeply toward the Carpathian Plateau, winding through dense vegetation and windswept ridges where human paths and bear corridors overlapped with dangerous frequency. Maria Diana was 19 years old, part of a growing wave of young tourists who had turned to Romania's Carpathian trails for weekend recreation. The Bucegi National Park is home to one of the highest densities of brown bears in Europe. Despite heavy tourist traffic, the park lacked a centralized bear tracking system. In the weeks before the attack, authorities had noted a sharp increase in bear sightings near the trail. The Carpathian brown bear can weigh between 420 and 700 pounds, reaching nearly 10 feet on hind legs. They can sprint at 30 miles per hour. Their bite force exceeds 1,200 pounds per square inch, and their claws reach over 3 inches in length. Romania hosts nearly 60% of Europe's brown bear population, an estimated 8,000 animals in an increasingly crowded mountain range. The attack came without warning. Maria Diana and her boyfriend rounded a blind corner and came face to face with a large brown bear at close range. The bear seized her with immediate predatory persistence, its massive forepaws closing around her body. Her boyfriend watched in horror as the bear dragged her off the trail and toward a steep drop. The bear dragged Maria Diana over the precipice into the ravine below. When rescue teams reached the bottom, the bear was still on top of Maria Diana's body, attempting to attack rescuers as they approached. Rangers shot the bear dead to recover the victim. Maria Diana had sustained catastrophic injuries from sustained predatory mauling. She was pronounced dead at the scene. The death of a 19-year-old on a marked trail inside a national park sent shockwaves through Romania. Prime Minister Marcel Ciolacu convened an extraordinary parliament session. Lawmakers approved Law 481/2024, doubling the annual bear culling quota from 220 to 481 animals. Maria Diana's death became a national symbol of the Carpathian coexistence crisis, where Europe's last great wilderness and a modernizing human society collide with lethal consequences. Ionuț Angel, Tay Park, Bucharest, 2013. While Maria Diana's death on a mountain trail exposed the dangers of Romania's expanding bear population, a tragedy a decade earlier in the capital revealed a threat far more common and just as lethal, not from the wilderness, from the streets. It was September 2nd, 2013, in the Tay neighborhood of Bucharest, where tree-lined streets and apartment blocks surrounded a popular recreation park. Ionuț Angel was 4 years old. He had come to the park with his 6-year-old brother, Andrei, under their grandmother's supervision. What made this morning different was what was waiting in the overgrown lot 200 meters away. By 2013, Bucharest was gripped by a public health crisis. In 2012 alone, 16,192 people were bitten by stray dogs in the capital. Nearly 20% of those victims were children. An estimated 65,000 feral dogs roamed the city, despite municipal programs undermined by legal gridlock and NGO advocacy of trap-neuter return over euthanasia. Feral dog packs in Bucharest had evolved coordinated hunting tactics, nipping bites to disable prey, and flanking maneuvers to prevent escape. A dog's bite delivers between 200 and 450 pounds per square inch, and when multiple animals attack simultaneously, the cumulative trauma is catastrophic. Ionuț and his brother wandered about 200 meters into an abandoned lot thick with overgrown bushes. A pack of 7 dogs converged without warning. Andrei, being older and faster, managed to escape despite a bite to his leg. He ran back screaming. When police finally located Ionuț in the dense brush, he was already dead. The forensic report described extreme violence. Ionuț had been bitten hundreds of times across his entire body. He bled to death from extensive wounds. The death of Ionuț Angel triggered the largest street protests in Bucharest since 1989. Thousands marched under the slogan, "We want safety, not excuses." President Traian Băsescu demanded a definitive solution. Parliament rapidly passed a law allowing euthanasia of stray dogs not claimed within 14 days of capture. This legislation, known as the Law of Ionuț, ended decades of failed municipal policy, though it sparked years of litigation from animal rights groups. The stray dog crisis itself was a direct byproduct of Nicolae Ceausescu's systematization program of the 1970s and 80s, when traditional houses were demolished to build socialist apartment blocks where pets were forbidden. Thousands of dogs were abandoned, creating a feral population that flourished for 3 decades before a 4-year-old boy paid the price. The Brașov Rabid Bear Rampage, 2004. While Ionuț Angel's death exposed failures in Bucharest, the city of Brașov, nestled at the foot of the Carpathians, was about to experience something no management system could have predicted: a bear infected with rabies and 12 people directly in its path. It was October 16, 2004, in the medieval city of Brașov, where apartment blocks ended at the tree line, and the boundary between civilization and wilderness was measured in meters rather than miles. By 2004, Brașov had become known for its garbage bears, animals that descended from forests into the Rocado Valley at night to forage through dumpsters. Residents and tourists frequently fed them, stripping the animals of their natural fear of humans. But the safety protocols of the era were designed to manage foraging bears, not the hyper-aggressive behavior of a diseased animal. Rabies in large carnivores is statistically rare, typically maintained in reservoir species like red foxes and stray dogs. But when it crosses into a brown bear, the neurological effects are devastating. The virus destroys the animal's natural fear responses and triggers relentless, unprovoked aggression. A rabid bear does not bluff, charge, or huff. It attacks with mechanical, indiscriminate violence until physically stopped. In 2004, Romania recorded 187 rabies cases across all species, part of a rabies corridor stretching across Romania, Ukraine, and Moldova. The rampage began deep in the Mount Tampa Nature Reserve, where the bear killed a mushroom forager. Driven by the neurological fury of the virus, the animal moved downhill toward the Rocado district's promenade, where multiple families had gathered for a weekend picnic. The bear did not exhibit warning behavior. It charged directly into the groups and began attacking everyone within reach, moving from one person to the next with terrifying efficiency. 12 people were attacked in total. 7 required emergency surgery to repair shattered bones and torn flesh. A 71-year-old diabetic man died the following day from complications stemming from his injuries. The bear was tracked and shot dead several hours later. A public health emergency was declared. All 11 survivors underwent post-exposure rabies prophylaxis, the only treatment that can prevent death once the virus is transmitted. The incident led to Romania's first specialized bear-human conflict commissions and remains the most significant documented rabid bear rampage in European history. Oros, Locul Mori, Bucharest, 2023. While the Brașov Rampage demonstrated what happens when disease transforms a bear into an indiscriminate killer, the death of Oros a decade later proved that the most common predator in Romania didn't live in the mountains. It lived on the outskirts of the capital. It was January 21, 2023, on the outskirts of Bucharest, near Locul Mori, a man-made lake on the capital's western edge, where suburban sprawl dissolved into farmland and abandoned construction sites. The area was popular with joggers, despite being a liminal zone between Bucharest's Sector 6 and Ilfov County, a bureaucratic gap where neither authority took responsibility for animal control. Oros Daraban was a 43-year-old environmental activist and experienced marathon runner. In a bitter irony that would define public reaction to her death, Anna was a vocal advocate for animal welfare. She had been attacked by a pack of stray dogs in this exact location in April 2022 and survived only by climbing a nearby embankment. Following that first attack, she formally complained to municipal authorities about the danger. Nothing was done. The pack that controlled this territory consisted of 8 dogs, a dangerous hybrid population mixing truly feral strays with unchained guard dogs left on nearby construction sites. Investigators found a donkey carcass approximately 50 meters from the attack site, a biological anchor that had fixed the pack to this territory and made them extraordinarily aggressive. Fewer than 15% of dogs in surrounding Ilfov County were microchipped despite mandatory laws. Anna was on her morning training run when the pack surrounded her. Unlike her previous attack, there were no structures to climb. The dog's chase reflex was triggered by her running pace. The pack used coordinated flanking tactics that brought her to the ground. Once down, the dogs focused on her extremities and neck, biting with relentless efficiency. Emergency services were called by a witness, but the location was inaccessible to standard vehicles, fatally delaying response. Anna bled to death at the scene from multiple traumatic wounds. Her death revealed that the stray dog problem had been pushed to the city's periphery, not solved. The investigation found only 30% of dogs within Bucharest and 15% in surrounding Ilfov County were microchipped. The use of aggressive, unchained dogs for security on construction sites continued to feed the feral population, creating a cycle of violence the law of Ionuț had failed to break. Hajime Horii, Victory Square, Bucharest, 2006. While Anna Oros's death exposed failures at Bucharest's suburban frontier, a single bite 3 years earlier in the capital's political heart had already proven that no one in Romania was safe. Not even a foreign diplomat walking across the most heavily policed square in the country. In January 2006, Piața Victoriei, Victory Square, sat at the literal and political center of Bucharest, housing the Victoria Palace, the seat of the Prime Minister. Armed guards, security cameras, government motorcades, and on the sidewalks, packs of 10 to 15 stray dogs slept and roamed freely. Hajime Horii was a 68-year-old Japanese citizen, a prominent businessman walking near his hotel when a stray dog approached him from behind and bit him once in the back of his left leg. Just once. Witnesses reported that Horii collapsed almost immediately as blood pumped rapidly from the wound. The bite had struck the popliteal fossa, the soft region behind the knee, severing the popliteal artery. This major blood vessel's rupture causes rapid, catastrophic hemorrhaging that leads to exsanguination within minutes without immediate intervention. Horii lost consciousness as his blood pressure plummeted. He died from hemorrhagic shock before emergency teams could stem the arterial bleed. The Japanese embassy issued a formal diplomatic protest. The international business community expressed outrage that a visiting executive had been killed in front of the Prime Minister's office. The mayor of Bucharest resumed culling operations, though these were halted again in 2008 following renewed NGO protests. The dog that killed Hajime Horii was captured and adopted by a German family. It died of old age in 2013, the same year Ionuț Angel was killed by a pack in Tay Park. The animal that had taken a man's life lived out its remaining years in comfort in another country, while the system that produced it continued to kill Romanian citizens. The Supor Boar attack, Satu Mare County, 2019. While the streets of Bucharest claimed lives through institutional failure, the forests of rural Romania held a different danger. Not from bears or feral dogs, but from an animal hunters across the Carpathians, considered the most dangerous quarry in Europe when wounded, the wild boar. It was January 22, 2019, in the frozen wetlands near the village of Alsozapor in Satu Mare County, northwestern Romania, a landscape of low-lying marshes and dense thickets providing perfect cover for one of Europe's most abundant and increasingly dangerous large mammals. The victim was a 57-year-old local man, an armed hunter without a valid hunting license. He represented a tradition that persists quietly across rural Romania. The village hunter who pursues wild game outside national quotas and EU regulations. The wild boar is widely considered by Romanian hunters more dangerous than a bear when wounded. Unlike bears, which may bluff, charge, or bite and retreat, a wounded boar enters a state of unlimited aggression, attacking repeatedly until its target stops moving. An adult Romanian forest boar weighs between 330 and 440 pounds with low center of gravity and immense neck strength. They reach speeds of 25 miles per hour in dense terrain. Their primary weapons are self-sharpening lower canines growing up to 5 inches long, functioning like double-edged daggers. A thick cartilage shield across their shoulders can stop small-caliber rounds. The tusks naturally target the height of a human's thighs and femoral arteries. The man encountered a large boar and fired. The shot wounded the animal but did not bring it down. The boar did not retreat. It charged with explosive speed, closing the distance before he could chamber a second round. The animal struck him at full velocity, knocking him to the ground, then proceeded to tusk him, slashing upward into his lower abdomen and groin. The attack was brief, but catastrophic. The tusks inflicted deep, jagged lacerations causing massive internal trauma and severing the femoral artery. He bled out rapidly. He was transported to the local medical facility in Supur, but the infrastructure was wholly insufficient to treat hemorrhagic shock and abdominal trauma of this severity. He died shortly after arrival.